Love people, but don't trust them fully. You know, I've been thinking lately on how in this society we live in, this Western world, there's no there's no emphasis. I'm sorry, I just woke up. There's no emphasis put on actually loving your fellow man and even your fellow women on a human level. I'm not talking about being, head over heels in love with them, but just having a genuine just love and respect for your fellow human, regardless of how much more intelligent you are than them, regardless of how much better your circumstances were than theirs, being born or whatever, or race or social status, whatever. There doesn't seem to be any of that anymore. And I feel like there were periods of time in history where there was a little more of that. Not a lot more, but a little more of that than now. It seems like now everything is so about, status and competition and constantly trading in your friends for new friends, like you trade in a used car and, always climbing this, imaginary ladder and whatnot. And the second someone disagrees with something you say, you hate them and you banish them forever, right? One example I'll use is when I said, why I'm no longer MGTOW. I gave valid points, and all the sort of spanking that I gave MGTOW, it still came from a place of love, right? It's still on a human level. It came from a place of me wanting to see MGTOW do good, even though I don't want to be a part of it anymore. But so many men in MGTOW are brainwashed, just like every other man and every other woman in this Western society, to immediately go on the attack and hate you and shun you and call you dirty names and vicious threats and stuff like that. And that only proves that you're just as fucked up and sick in the head as most other people from most other walks of life and most other groups and even women. So you prove my point when you lash out the way you do, how sick you are. And, of course, I don't like working with sick people. I like working with people who are kind of already figuring things out and have potential. But that's besides the point. The moral of this story, the moral of this video, right, is going to be called Love People, but Don't Trust Them. See, as a human, you need to give love to people to feel good inside yourself. When you don't love people, whatever you give is what you get back. So if you give nothing but hatred and hateful energy to people, you're producing that hatred within inside you. So it starts in you before it goes to them. Whether or not they receive that hatred, you don't know. Some people will accept your hatred and let it ruin them. Some people, it'll bounce right off and be like, I don't give a fuck. Like when the dudes in MGTOW are like, bro, you're a faggot, you're blue pill, I don't give a fuck, like eat my dick. It doesn't matter to me. So your hatred reflected right off me and it went back onto yourself. And you've got to live with your hatred. I don't have to live with that, right? It's kind of like what is the Buddhist saying where like the man comes up to Buddha every day and says hateful things to him, but Buddha doesn't feel it because Buddha has nothing but love for him, so the man's hatred bounces off him right back onto himself. It's the same thing with that, right? Give loving energy to people, whether they deserve it or not, whether you trust them or not, because that's going to create love inside you that's going to make you feel good. Even if you're not doing it for them, do it for yourself. Now, be able to love people without trusting them, because people are still very sick in the head, very sick in the heart, and they will, for the most part, stab you in the back if they can or if they are under a certain level of pressure. Not many people have the heart to take a small sacrifice for someone they care for. People don't have heart like they used to. Someone like me, I could do a couple years in jail if I had to. I could take a fall for a friend if I had to. If it's someone I really care for, I could take a fall for them. I could get in a fight with them against other people. I could get stabbed for a friend. I could do stuff like that. I have the heart for that. But most people don't have the heart for that. So you need to be very careful not to put too much trust in people, because most of the time in this sick day and age, they will let you down. You need to love them so that you don't create toxic feelings in yourself that make you miserable as well. And if it reaches them, great. That's even better. But even if it doesn't, you need to have love for people because you were meant to give off a loving energy. You weren't meant to give off hatred and toxicity, because in order to give other people poison, you have to create it in yourself first. So you have to poison yourself to poison others, right? So give off a loving energy, but don't trust people because they are still very sick and they have a lot of healing to do before they are ready to be trusted. And because of their weak will and their, being brainwashed to be conniving and manipulative and cunning, they will most likely, under any sort of pressure or under any sort of temptation for material gain or status gain, will fuck you over because they've been conditioned to do so. But just remember, love people without trusting them.